With this book, political scientist Joan Roloffs offers a well-documented set of facts about the way military interests permeate every aspect of U.S. society, suppressing anti-war activism and resulting in Congress perennially rubber-stamping a huge military budget. Meanwhile, the war industries consume more than half the government's discretionary resources, billions that could be spent to satisfy human needs like healthcare, housing, and education, while the products it does produce are either destroyed or declared obsolete in short order. Roloffs begins with a straightforward research question. Why is the anti-war movement so weak in the United States? Americans seem to accept without criticism the death and destruction wrought in military adventures around the world and the damage to the environment and hastening of climate change caused by the fact that $900 billion of our tax dollars is spent by the Pentagon. Why is there little said about the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation? Several interrelated explanations are posed. For one, a propaganda blanket covers reporting on the military actions such that the public sees only a very one-sided view. The second points out that Americans are distracted from attention to the military by the daily grind of working-class life. Fear of reprisals is a third explanation, which Roloff sees as especially relevant on college campuses, where academics face dismissal over unpopular anti-war sentiments. On this point, the author was particularly prescient, given the attacks on higher education in the second Trump administration. Most important, Roloffs argues, are military interests, both overt and hidden, that provide a structural explanation of the persistence of the bloated Pentagon budget and the relative absence of criticism. The war industries use the political structures of our government to their advantage. Their profits are dispersed geographically, such that many congressional representatives have constituents with well-paying jobs that depend on military contracts. The result is that both Republican and Democratic legislators tend to support the military budget without complaint. It is this economic effect of the war industries that Roloff sees as the silencer of the book's subtitle. The date of publication here is crucial in weighing the contribution of Roloffs's book. It was released in 2022, well before the October 2023 Hamas attack and the commencement of Israel's genocidal war against the Palestinian people. In 6 chapters, Roloffs documents the excesses of the military itself, its bases and outposts in the U.S. and abroad, the extensive subcontracting that enriches a handful of corporations and buys the loyalty of think tanks, university research centers, foundations, and state and local governments. Given the more recent actions of the Trump administration's war against democratic cities, the militarization of local police forces is especially ominous. A surprising contribution that Roloffs' research uncovered is the sheer number and wide range of organizations and institutions that are indebted to the military in some way, including economic hubs around military bases and installations, suppliers of food and clothing for personnel, and health insurance corporations, among others. Each contract represents a de facto co-optation into the war machine's agenda. How to counter the juggernaut of militarization. One important discussion offered here is the rise and subsequent diminishment of academic dissenters. The Vietnam War protests that exploded in the 1960s are well known, but the story of anthropologists' awareness of their role of assisting the military in its projects of exploitation and occupation is worth reflecting on today. The Academy may offer an arena for challenging the acceptance of war industry propaganda. Roloffs devotes a last chapter to other steps that can be taken. She names several of the prominent organizations that are pro-peace, from think tanks like the Union of Concerned Scientists, Center for International Policy, and the Quincy Institute, to activist groups like Code Pink and World Beyond War. She suggests disseminating the information that is revealed in this book and elsewhere, especially to organizations concerned with human rights, environmental justice, and anti-poverty work. Reducing the threat of nuclear annihilation and reversing the waste of resources on the war machine are projects that should be central to activists in every corner of the people's movement. Roloffs argues that a conversion to a civilian economy is well within reach by diverting the military's funds to civilian infrastructure projects, environmental protection, green energy jobs, and a national civilian service. Her solution would shift the balance of production from private to public, and it would require generous support of a just transition to a civilian economy. Roloff's book shows some signs of being put together in a hurry. While the footnotes for each chapter are informative, there are too many long quotations and a minimalist index. This reflects an urgency rather than a rush. In the dynamic conditions of the time, we needed a snapshot view of the whole war industry as it nestles everywhere, settles everywhere, and establishes connections everywhere, as Marx wrote. This book will be good to have handy as we assess the further damages being done today by the military industry and as we organize against it.